Hey everyone, Clay from Brooklyn, Football with the Fellas. It's all about Big Blue. Here with a look at our current depth chart a couple of weeks before the draft. So we've obviously made a good number of moves in the offseason already, uh, signing some free agents, bringing back some of our own players who were free agents. I like several of the moves we made. We certainly are way better at quarterback than we were a year ago, and we are better in the defensive backfield. So those are good things. But I'd like to take a look at kind of what I consider to be where we are on the defensive backfield. So let's take a look. I'm going to start. I made up a spreadsheet that starts with position groups. And the first position group I'm looking at is quarterback. So as you see, we have three quarterbacks in house right now. We have Russell Wilson, who's 36 years old, Jameis Winston, who's 31 years old, and Tommy DeVito, who's 26 years old. So as far as age, Russell Wilson's getting a little long in the tooth, but I do think he's probably capable of another 2 or 3 good years. Listen, we were trying to sign Aaron Rodgers, who's 41. So if we believe that Aaron Rodgers could be useful at 41, which I don't, but if the front office believe that, then they certainly should believe that Russell Wilson has 2 or 3 good years in him. So I don't know if this 1 year prove it deal is enough. Maybe we should have tried to get him for a little longer than that, but maybe we just didn't want to commit that much money to him. In any event, we are way better at quarterback this year than we were before. As you see, column C, I gave him some rankings. I gave Russell Wilson like a 7.5 to 8 on a scale of 1 to 10. Hard to tell how much he's got left slash how much he's lost. But he certainly won enough games with Pittsburgh last year, or I should say Pittsburgh won enough games with him at quarterback last year to make me think he can, still be competitive and throw the long ball and open up our passing game and not put the ball in harm's way a lot. I mean, he's very good at that. His touchdown to interception ratio has always been good. He's not going to get outside of the pocket and run for first downs a whole lot anymore. He's not that guy anymore, but he will get the ball downfield. He has a great deep ball. He kind of drops it in the bucket as well as anyone. So I think that's really going to open up Darius Slayton and Jalen Hyatt. Obviously, Malik Neighbors, he was a beast with bad quarterbacking last year, so I'm not worried about him at all. But Darius Slayton and Jalen Hyatt are two players who I think are going to really showcase their abilities a lot better this year because we have quarterbacks that can do that with them. So I'm really excited about that. And I think that our quarterback play is going to be a lot better. I gave the quarterback group, a 7 overall, a solid 7. As you see, I said they're much improved. It would be great if we could draft a rookie. At this point, I mean, obviously, I don't think Cam Ward is going to last till the 3rd overall pick, and I don't think we're going to be able to trade up for him. If we can get Cam Ward, all bets are off, get Cam Ward. But assuming we don't get Cam Ward, I don't love Shedeur Sanders. I just don't. And I would be happy to wait. I don't love Jackson Dart, and I don't think he gets out of the first round. I don't think he gets out of the top 10. So if we don't take him at 3, and please don't take him at 3, then I don't think we have a shot at him. So Jalen Milroe, whose athleticism is insane, is tempting. And I don't think he gets out of the first round either, to be honest. But if he's still there at 34, I could see us saying, you know what? Let's just do it. Let's just take this guy and redshirt him for a year or two. And let's see if he can learn how to play quarterback because his athleticism is insane. And if he becomes even a decent quarterback with that kind of athleticism, you can certainly win with that. And just as we are, maybe phasing out the Russell Wilson, Jameis Winston era in maybe 2 years, he might be ready to step in and take over from there. So yeah, I'd go with Milroe or even Kyle McCord, who I wasn't that impressed with at the Senior Bowl, but I was pretty impressed with him during the year. I'm sorry, not the Senior Bowl, the Combine, excuse me. Wasn't very impressed with him at the Combine. But I do think that he's got more than he showed in the postseason. And I wouldn't be too upset if we took him in round 4 or 5 if he was still there. So draft priority level quarterback is medium. Like we've got a lot of other issues. The 2 people we just signed, Russell Wilson and Jameis Winston, takes that down several notches for me. Obviously before we signed them, it was like priority 1, but now it's not. The next position group that I have is running back. You see, I have Tyrone Tracy, Devin Singletary, Eric Gray, and Dante Turbo Miller, who I don't know why we didn't get the ball in his hands more last year, but I would really like for us to use him a little bit more this year. That man can fly. I also think we should use Devin Singletary more. I mean, this time last year, after we had lost Saquon and then added Singletary, all I heard was, "Oh, he's almost as good. He's almost as good. You should see his yards per carry compared to Saquon's last year. They weren't that much different at all, and he'll be just fine." Okay, so then Tyrone Tracy made him like a dinosaur. Like, what happened? Somehow or another, just because Tyrone Tracy was having a fairly good year, we don't need to use Devin Singletary at all. They should have been closer to 50-50 in terms of touches, if you ask me. It's not like Tracy ran for, 1,500 yards. He was a solid rookie, but I was actually a little bit disappointed in Tyrone Tracy as a pass catching running back. I mean, this is a man who played a wide receiver in college for years. So I don't understand why he's not a better threat downfield in the passing game. And I think and hope that we will take better advantage of that this year. But I do think that he should not be the, bell cow. He should share that load with Devin Singletary and with Dante Turbo Miller. I'm uh, kind of done with Eric Gray. If he gets a touch here or there, that's fine. I mean, he's not a bad running back, but I'm not excited about him. Um, Overall, I don't consider running back a huge need. You see, I have it as low in my priorities for the draft. Uh, it would be great if we can get a power of short yardage guy. Damian Martinez from Miami is one I have my eye on. If he's still there, like in round 5, I would be happy to add him because we could use that kind of bruiser to get the tough short yards. But overall, I think running back isn't really a huge need for us. You see the grades I gave them. Uh, I gave the group a 6 overall, which is, not great, but so that would make it seem like maybe we do need them, but I just don't think that this is going to be an offense built around the run. And maybe they're more a 6.5 than a 6. I mean, they're okay, but they're not great. Wide receiver. So Malik Neighbors obviously is a beast. And Darius Slayton is a solid wide receiver. Probably should be your third best wide receiver on a really good team, but he could be the second best wide receiver on a decent team. He's been our best wide receiver for many of his, I think 4 of his 6 years, he's led the team in receptions and yards. So, he's been our wide receiver 1 for many years. So I'm happy to have him back. I think he's, like I said, really a wide receiver 3. But now that we got Russell Wilson and James Winston, I think he's someone else who's going to benefit from being able to get open downfield, further downfield a little more often, which is really, I think, his strength, and we just haven't been able to utilize that strength. Wan'Dale Robinson, I'm not a huge fan. He's okay as a slot receiver. It's hard to tell whether it's scheme or if it's Wan'Dale, but we always seem to throw to him short of the sticks, and it drives me crazy. He weighs like a buck 25, and we ask him to elude and break tackles to pick up first downs on 3rd and 8 when we throw him a 4-yard pass, and like why? Why can't he run a 9-yard pattern? I mean, he's very elusive. If he's elusive, he can get open downfield before he catches the ball. Why does he have to be elusive after he catches the ball? It just doesn't make any sense to me. Anyway, so Jalen Hyatt is, right now the grade is poor. He hasn't done anything this past season, 2024. He looked a lot better his rookie year than his second year. I'm hoping that we really get to see what he can do this year. And these other new guys, Zach Pascal, Little Jordan Humphrey, and Bryce Ford Wheaton isn't new, but he hasn't actually played much other than special teams. I gave them NAs. I don't have a grade on them yet. So as far as draft priority, not high, low to medium. We could use a especially tall-ish wide receiver. That would be nice, but given the other needs we have on this team, I can't say that that's a high priority. But yeah, if we could get more out of what we have, if we can unlock the Deshaun Jackson potential I see in Jalen Hyatt, that'd be great. And if we can get Darius Slayton back to that 750 yards a year, that would be great. And I think that'd be sufficient, quite honestly. Offensive tackle. Okay, so obviously all things in this column hinge around Andrew Thomas's ability to stay healthy. Is Andrew Thomas going to play more than 6 or 8 games? When he's healthy, he's a top 5 left tackle. He's really good, and that makes the rest of our offensive line, work. The first 5 or 6 games last year, our offensive line was doing great. Daniel Jones just wasn't taking advantage of it. If you watch any of our episodes last year, you heard me saying that over and over again. Guys, we're not going to have all five of these guys healthy for 17 games. Can we please throw the ball downfield while they're healthy? And then, of course, they weren't healthy. He wasn't healthy anymore, and it all fell apart. So Andrew Thomas is a nine. He's a solid nine. Jermaine Illuminor is a solid eight. And then behind them, it drops off precipitously. So James Hudson and Stone Forsythe are terrible. Frankly, they're just terrible. And I didn't even put Evan Neal here because Evan Neal is not playing tackle again in his life. If I have anything to say about it, and I have great influence with Shane and Dable. They call me all the time and ask me my opinion. Clay from Brooklyn, what do you think we should do? Don't put Evan Neal at tackle. Anyway, so that's this is who I consider the tackles. Evan Neal has agreed to move inside the guard. Move him inside the guard. So overall, I gave the tackle group a 7, which I think is fair, with a 9, an 8, and 2 4s. What I'm really saying is, can we draft another one, please? What I really love, so medium to high is the priority level grade I gave it. What I really love is for us to draft a college tackle who is athletic enough to play guard. Gray Zabel from North Dakota State comes to mind. Actually, what I would love is Armand Membu from Missouri, but I don't see any shot at that unless we trade down with our first pick and are down to like 6 or 7 or so, and take him there, which I'm fine with if we've added enough draft capital to warrant that. Again, especially if Cam Ward and Abdul Carter are gone 1 and 2. But the fact is, we need a swing tackle. We don't have one yet that's any good. And ideally, that swing tackle could start for us at guard while Andrew Thomas is healthy. So that's what I'm hoping we do. And if you look at the next groups, interior offensive line and center, they all kind of tie into that same mindset. So our interior offensive linemen, the guards, John Runyon, I gave him a 6.5. I gave Greg Van Roten a 6.5. I mean, they're both, and to me, that's barely passing, right? A 65 on a test is passing, but barely. That's what I'd give both of them. They're just, Greg Van Roten is 35 years old, so I don't blame him for not being all that good anymore. But they're both okay at best. If we had a great center and 2 great tackles, and these 2 were the weak links, I guess we'd be all right, but I don't know that that's what we have. They're also not athletic enough to get out in front of the sweeps and the screens, and that's why we don't run those things, and that drives me crazy. If we could just get one interior offensive lineman, ideally a guard, that can get outside and pull and lead and get in front of running back, that would make a great deal of difference, and we haven't had that in years. So I'm going to say that overall group is a 5.5 at guard, which is failing, which means we need help. So priority level for the draft, high. We need an interior offensive lineman. And then for center, it says C guard, because basically I consider all 3 of those positions, interior offensive line, linked. And what I'm hoping as far as interior offensive line is that we draft a guard that can also play center or vice versa. But it's usually that we draft someone who's listed as a guard who can also play center. And I think John Michael Schmitz is just not going to get much better. He's not a young man anymore. I mean, anymore. He was never a young man when we drafted him. So I just don't understand. He's 26 years old already. How much better is he going to get? And he was mediocre at best last year. He was terrible his rookie year. The second year was mediocre at best. So I think that's pretty much his ceiling. I think he's going to be a mediocre center who should be a backup depth piece. So let's draft over him. So again, draft priority for both of those guards and center high. Let's get that done. Maybe it has to be in the second round, but certainly by the third round. I think we've got to get an interior offensive lineman by then. I like our tight ends. I think the tight end room is probably the strongest group we have. Theo Johnson, assuming he's 100%, healthy, looks like a very good pass catching tight end. I gave him a 7.5 because he's not a good blocker, but I think as a receiver, he's, if this was just as a receiver, I'd have gave him an 8.5. I think he's a really good receiving tight end, or is going to be. He's he finally started getting his, wits about him, so to speak, towards the end of the season, and then he got hurt. I think we seriously underutilized Daniel Bellinger. I think he is a better 2-way tight end than we give him credit for, and that's our fault. Like his rookie year, he looked much better than he did since then, and I don't understand why that is. I mean, he's still only 24 years old, and he's a solid, not great, but solid blocker and a better than solid pass catcher, especially short passes. I mean, he's not going to run a 40-yard post. But if it's 3rd and 5 and you need someone to just move the chains, I think Daniel Bellinger is really good at that, at finding the soft spots in the zone and at making the catch and not dropping the ball and maybe breaking the first tackle. I think he's really good at that. Um, so I don't know why we don't use him more and better, but we need to. And I think if I could only keep one of these tight ends, it'd be Daniel Bellinger because I think um, he shows enough to warrant that, and we should just take advantage of that. Chris Van Hurst is a blocking tight end. He's not much in the way of pass catching, but he's a really good blocking tight end. And Greg Dulcich should be cut. Um, as far as the overall offense, I gave it a 6.25 overall, and that's assuming that each group weighs equally on that score. In other words, if the offensive line falls apart, then the rest of it doesn't matter. But I'm treating it as though all of them are equally valuable. Let's move on to defense. Dexter Lawrence needs help, plain and simple. I gave him a 10. 11, if you are a Spinal Tap fan, it goes up to 11. Dexter Lawrence is a beast. He's the man. Um, but the rest of them are not good. Nunez Roches is not good. Chauncey Golston might be good. I mean, he's coming over mostly for his pass rush ability. And I think he's going to play defensive end, like interior defensive lineman, not outside linebacker. So I listed him with this group. I guess you could put him in either group, but I put him here. DJ Davidson, Elijah Chapman, Roy Robertson Harris, Jeremiah Ledbetter. These are names. These are Jags, just another guy. Um, None of them are going to move the needle, in my opinion. We need to draft somebody there no later than the second round, and at least one person, maybe two, that can take some pressure off of Dexter Lawrence, extend his prime, and keep him from getting his prime years of his career, and keep him from getting abused every play, double and triple teams. Edge rushers are pretty good. Brian Burns is very, very good. Not Pro Bowl good, but very, very good. And Kayvon Thibodeau is very solid. And again, I'd love us to draft Abdul Carter, but if we don't get Carter, there's other guys. There's Mike Green. There's other people who James Pierce is, who are good edge rusher prospects. We need one. Uh, if we do get Abdul Carter, like I said, I'd be willing to trade Kayvon Thibodeau, although I'd love to have the depth of having both of them and Brian Burns. But if we were able to put together a package that got us, say, an Armand Membu at number 7 or 8, because we put Kayvon Thibodeau and Michael McFadden in the second round pick together or something like that, I'd be willing to do that. Inside linebackers, I'm not in love with Michael McFadden like a lot of people are. I like him. Again, I think he's solid. I gave him a 7, but he's not outstanding. Like a lot of people talk about him like he's, a great middle linebacker. That's not who he is. He misses too many tackles. He comes off the field on passing downs. Uh, a really, really good inside linebacker to me is a 3-down linebacker who can stay on the field and cover people in the passing game as well, and he can't do that. So overall, this is a thin 7 at inside linebacker because Bobby Okereke is a solid 8. Um, and pretty much Darius Muasau is the only backup linebacker inside linebacker that I gave a grade to. I like Deontay Johnson's athleticism, but he didn't play enough because of his injuries to really get a good read on him. And Summers and Board are really just there for special teams. So draft priority for that inside linebacker is medium. By the way, it's high for interior defensive lineman, and I'd say medium to high for edge rusher. Finally, we get to defensive backs. Paulson Adebo is, I think, a very good signing, very solid player. Tay Banks, I have no use for anymore. Hopefully, I'm wrong. Hopefully, he turns it around. He looks like he's working out really hard in the offseason to get in shape, whatever. But Drew Phillips is also very good. So I like 2/3 of our starting 3 cornerbacks. Flott and Hawkins are okay depth. But we could use another one, especially if Tay Banks doesn't learn how to tackle in the run game. Javon Holland, I really like him a lot. Great signing. I'm not in nearly as much love with Tyler Nubin as a lot of people are. He misses too many tackles. He takes bad angles. He looked inexperienced, but he was a rookie. So, maybe he gets better next year. Hopefully he gets better next year. I'm willing to give him another year to prove himself. But I'm also willing to move on if somebody gives us something really good for him. Dane Belton is a Jag, just another guy. He is as I said, break glass in emergencies type of player. Like he's not someone you really want him on the field, but if you have to, you have to. And he has the ball seems to find him, right? He shows up He's got more interceptions, I think, than any other defensive back in the last 2 years for the Giants. So I don't know how that has happened, but yeah, he also probably has more missed tackles. Special teams, Gano is 100 years old. He's got to go. Casey Kreider is a very solid long snapper. Jamie Scottish Hammer Gillen is a solid punter, and Amir Smith Marset ran a kickback for a touchdown. We've only had, 5 or 6 of those in the last, 100 years. So yes, we're solid at the rest of these special teams. So basically, the most important to my view, important positions are quarterback. At some point, we need a quarterback, and interior defensive lineman and interior offensive lineman. Those are the places we really have to make some hay in the draft. After that, there's obviously other positions that could get better, but those are the positions that must get better. And I'm not expecting us to go to playoffs this year, but I do expect us to be competitive. And those places will help us be competitive. If we're better on the line of scrimmage, we'll be in more games. Well, that's what I think. But what do you think? So as always, I'd love to hear your comments. Share, like, and subscribe. But drop a comment. Let me know what you think, because I just gave you a lot of things to think about as far as our depth chart as of right now. But I want to know, is there any position group you disagree with me on that you think is a higher priority than I gave it? Or maybe I gave one of them too high a priority and you don't think that's as big a need as I thought it was. So please give us a comment. As always, Clay from Brooklyn, Football with the Fellas. It's all about Big Blue, and I'm out.
Big shout out to El Marquis Productions, the talent behind the music and production here at Football with the Fellas. It's all about Big Blue. Their beats bring energy and excitement to every episode. El Marquis' skills in mixing, mastering, and creating top quality sound make the podcast come alive each week. For your own projects, check out elmarquisproductions.com and take your sound to the next level.